Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another episode of In Depth with David. We are back with post-game shows, one day late, but we're still getting this out for the Patriots Browns game, and we're back with the original crew. I'm David, joined by my co-host Chris, who is still looking for a haircut. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, what's up?
Not too much, not too much. All right, so if you did not hear the news from yesterday, Patriots were able to win their second straight game in a row, their first winning streak of the 2022 NFL season, to move back to 500 at the season. So through 6 games, the Patriots are 3-3. They beat the Browns in Cleveland yesterday, 38-15. So, as we usually do with these post-game recaps, we're going to just go quarter by quarter, play by play, or drive by drive, and just talk about what we liked and what we didn't like from this game. So, before we get into specifics, Chris, just general takeaways on the Pats' effort yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, overall, a win's a win, but this win was very special because I felt like the defense definitely supported the offense enough that the offense started to get going. And what happened was that the Browns running backs didn't even get going. Nick Chubb got 56 yards rushing, and then like Kareem Hunt got like 20. So like that was a big game changer because now we were testing Jacoby Brissett, and it's like, all right, we stopped your running game. Now what you got? Throwing the ball. And as we saw, he threw 2 picks and he fumbled one. So that was definitely helpful for us. And then I saw that Bailey Zappi over 300 yards passing, 2 TDs, and no interceptions. He's starting to get a groove on things as well. So hope that keeps on trucking.
Yeah, I would say, this game, as much as the scoreboard indicates that it was a blowout, we definitely had to kind of earn it at points in the second half. But it was also a bit of a strange game, not like Cole Strange on the offensive line, but I thought that we would rely heavily on the run game, but as you said, Bailey Zappi was able to light it up statistically. I mean, he had his best game as a pro. Granted, this is only his third game of action, but he played like a pro yesterday with over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I thought that we were going to be able to contain the pass game for Cleveland, but let the run game run all over us. But as you also said, we did a great job keeping Chubb and Hunt from breaking out any big runs. And the pass game with Brissett got going a little bit. I mean, granted, he got a lot of yards in garbage time and such. And once they started rolling in the second half, he was able to acclimate a lot of yards too. But we also made his life a living nightmare out in the pocket because we got a lot of pressure on Brissett, forced some interceptions, some turnovers on him, on the team as a whole. So just an all-around good victory for the Pats as we wait and see when Mac Jones will be clear to return, which may be next week. But just an all-around good effort from the whole team in all phases of the game. It was a little bit of a slow start, I would say, in the first half until we got that touchdown right before the half, and then we took off in the third quarter. Then things got a little scary, but we closed it out and did what we had to do to win. And this was the best game for the Patriots offensively so far this year as we continue to climb the mountain as we scored 38 points yesterday on offense. But getting into specifics now, first quarter, the second play from the line of scrimmage for the Cleveland Browns, not even 40 seconds into the game, Kyle Duggar interception Cody Brissett. Brissett ran a play-action play for the Browns. The Browns were thinking that the Pats would sell out on the run, but Brissett underthrew his receiver, Pharrell Brown, deep, and Kyle Duggar was able to pick it. And honestly, I know we keep talking about it on our shows, Chris, but I just can't say enough good things about Kyle Duggar. Not only this year when healthy, but just in his whole career. And this is just going to shape up to be another steal by Bill Belichick. We got him in the 5th round of the 2020 draft. He's been excellent with tackling guys. He's gotten even better at covering tight ends. And he did get burnt, I think, on one play yesterday. But overall, yeah. I mean, just another fantastic game from what could be another great young staple with this Patriots defense in the future in Kyle Duggar. So, moving on from that, we're going to go to 3rd and 9 once the Patriots got the ball after Duggar intercepted it. This is the first Patriots drive of the day. On 3rd and 9, Bailey Zappi, and once again, for the injured Mac Jones, lobbed it up for Devontae Parker, who corralled it over the Browns' corner Newsome for a gain of 29 yards. This put the Pats in the red zone, but Trent Brown and Isaiah Wynn committed dumb false start penalties on this drive. I wanted to take a second and note that. This was before that big play to Parker, but does that concern you at all that, we're 6 games in and our offensive line is still committing stupid penalties? And is that a coaching thing? Because obviously, as we know, Matt Patricia is not only what seems to be the offensive play caller, but also the offensive line coach. So would you pin more of that on him, or do you think it's just more so the players need to be better? Because this is honestly getting kind of ridiculous that we're 6 games into the year and these dumb penalties are, really killing our drives.
No, yeah, I definitely think it's both in some ways, but I feel like it's more on the coaching because with Matt Patricia, you're specifically designed for the offensive line, and you keep putting yourselves in positions that are not feasible for your offense to keep going. And because of that, you keep giving up decent penalties that are causing you to stall drives.
So those penalties happen, and then after the big play from Zappi to Parker, the Patriots were faced once again with another 3rd down and long. This time it was 3rd and 7, and Bailey Zappi threw it to the left corner of the end zone for Myers, but the pass was incomplete. But a pass interference call was called on none other than the Browns' Newsome as his nightmarish drive continues on defense. So Patriots get the ball 1st and goal from the 1, but they get stuffed twice on 1st and goal and 2nd goal trying to run it in with Stevenson. And then on 3rd and goal, Bailey Zappi found Hunter Henry in the back of the end zone for a touchdown, but there was a legal touching called on Henry as he went out of bounds and was the first player to touch it after being out of bounds. So that's a penalty. So that was a loss of down, and the Patriots were forced to kick as it was now 4th down after this. And there was a chip shot field goal for Folk, basically the old extra point, 19-yard field goal. It was up and good, and the Patriots went up 3-0 early in this game. Browns did a good job defending a run on this drive as Stevenson wasn't able to break anything out deep for a big gain. But this was probably the first time this season, in my opinion, where the play calling from Matt Patricia needs to be better, because those first 2 runs and the first 2 plays on goal to go were the same exact play. And I don't know what we were expecting running the same exact play twice. I don't know if we thought that it was going to go better the second time. But this is something that I think the Patriots need to keep working through as the season progresses, where we need to add a little bit more flavor to our play calling.
Yeah, no, I felt like the Browns defense knew that we were just going to run it up the middle. And I felt like in that position, we should have done an RPO, maybe have Devontae Parker on like the side, maybe do like a fade or something like that. But I mean, doing it twice in a row, and then that they're gonna that on 3rd down, that you're gonna throw it, because if you try running it again, you're just gonna get stuffed again. And I think with that Hunter Henry illegal touching, if you saw, I think he got
shoved. Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand. The ref saw that he was out of bounds, but you didn't see the guy getting pushed out of bounds. So that's kind of a controversy call.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was questionable. I would have rather seen a touchdown stand, and I wonder if maybe that'll get changed in the future, because that wasn't Hunter Henry's fault at all. He got shoved out of bounds, and it's kind of something similar to on punt returns, where the punt defenders push people out of bounds, and I don't know if there's a penalty with that, but I don't know. Just getting back to the Henry thing, I thought that was a little weird that was still called illegal touching, but nonetheless, Patriots went up early 3-0, but it's just, again, disappointing to see what was a promising drive end in 3. And, as we get into these tougher opponents, such as the Bills, Cardinals, Raiders, Vikings, once we play those guys, these field goals aren't going to cut it. We're going to need to start finishing drives sooner rather than later when we're approaching the halfway point of the season. So that needs to be fixed, but we're going to head to the next drive as for Cleveland. On 3rd and 10, this is what I was talking about. Kyle Duggar got burned by David Njoku, the Cleveland Browns tight end, down the sideline for a gain of 33. Njoku juked out Duggar halfway through that route. Duggar was getting a little bit too greedy, trying to go for the pick there, and he paid for it. But the Patriots defense was able to buckle down later in the drive to force rookie kicker Cade York into a 39-yard field goal attempt. Kick is up and good. Now the game is tied 3-3. Moving forward at the end of the first quarter, there was on this drive 2 back-to-back dumb penalties by Jacoby Myers and Bailey Zappi. Myers had an illegal block in the back, and Zappi was called for delay of game. And then derailing the drive was Myles Garrett sacking Zappi as he was throwing. And Myles Garrett beat Wynn on the right side of the offensive line. And not only did he sack Bailey Zappi, but he forced a fumble on him, and the Cleveland player was able to recover. So the Patriots turned the ball over as we head into the second quarter here. But with that sack, Myles Garrett became the Browns franchise leader with 62.5 sacks all time, half a sack more than Clay Matthews Sr. for the Browns. So, I mean, I just, can't say enough about Myles Garrett as a player. Not going to talk about his whole incident a few years ago with the helmet, but he is one of the best, maybe the best edge rusher in the league. And he gave Isaiah Wynn a lot of trouble yesterday, and Trent Brown and Marcus Cannon. We all knew, and I think we talked about this in the show too, that Myles Garrett is going to be able to have his moments, and he had one there. So, but overall, how do you think we, our offensive line did yesterday?
I think it was pretty solid, other than a couple of times Myles Garrett, getting around, I believe it was Trent Brown. So, I mean, other than that, they got their stuff together and were able to give Zappi enough time to throw the ball. Although I do have to say, Zappi was throwing it a lot quicker a couple of times. Although there were a few plays that took him like 5-6 seconds because there was a couple of deep crosses that the defenders left Jacoby Myers and Hunter Henry wide open. So, but other than that, the offensive line was pretty solid yesterday. And I was thinking Bailey Zappi's arm was going forward. I didn't know if that was actually a fumble or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I actually forgot to ask you about that. So, what did you think about that play? Because it was a big controversy in the Patriots fan communities I'm a part of, where they were saying it was a forward pass. Like you just said, his arm was going forward. It should have been ruled incomplete, but it was called a fumble. So, do you think the refs made the right call there?
I mean, as a Pats fan, no, I don't think they did. But, I mean, looking at it, I guess you could see it because his arm was going forward, but the ball was like on top of like his hand and it was already out. So it wasn't like necessarily going forward. It was just he didn't even have the grip of the ball yet. It was like on top of his knuckles, and it wasn't necessarily him throwing it. So it was already out of possession. So I can see why the refs said it was a fumble.
Definitely, and those are always bang plays. It's tough to make a judgment call on that, and it's very easy for those plays in the moment to be ruled fumbles. And I think it's even easier just when you review it to say there's not enough conclusive evidence to overturn it. But unfortunate play there for the Patriots. Fortunate play for the Browns. Real quick before we wrap up talk with the first quarter, Isaiah Wynn has not looked great at all this year. He has really struggled, and I think that this was the third straight game that he's gotten benched in the middle of the game for Marcus Cannon. Is he going to be done with the Patriots during this season, or do you think it's just a foregone conclusion that he will not be a Patriot in 2023? Do you think we're going to trade him this deadline?
Didn't we just give him a contract? Didn't we just give him money for 2 years, I believe? I mean, the way he's playing is really bad, I got to say. Out of all the linemen, I thought that Cole Strange, the rookie, was going to have a hard time, but it seems like Isaiah Wynn's been the odd man out. And I think the final straw of that game, I believe he had a false start a couple of times, I believe. That caused the drive, one of the drives to end in a field goal. So that was the end of end of him for that game. So if he keeps doing this, he's going to be in serious trouble.
Definitely. So I just looked it up. This is the final year of his contract. So this is his
Okay.
5th year. We picked up his 5th-year option with him being a first-round pick.
Okay.
He's making $10 million this year, just over $10 million.
Okay.
Clearly not worth it right now, but I do hope things turn around. I think a lot of Patriots fans are haunted from that 2018 draft. I mean, granted, Sony Michel won us a Super Bowl with his performance, but we had 2 chances to take Lamar Jackson and we didn't. And I know a lot of Pats fans look back at that. But hey, we got a Super Bowl out of it, and Wentz had his moments with us for sure. But we move on from that and go to the second quarter. So after the Browns got the ball off the Patriots fumble, on 4th and short, Jacoby Brissett tries a QB sneak. Now at this point, the Browns are well in field goal territory, but they're opting to be aggressive and go for the jugular. So Brissett tries a QB sneak, but the Pats defense stuffs him at the line. Shades of last week against Detroit. And now this is 7 straight 4th down stops for the Patriots dating back to last week. I mean, the numbers aren't necessarily the most favorable for how well this defense has been playing, Chris, so far this year, but this is just another solid defense that the Patriots have put together in 2022, if you ask me.
No, yeah, they've definitely upped their game from last year. I mean, the new additions as well as more talent developing from the veterans is just incredible. I mean, I believe we're a top 10 defense again. I mean, I think everyone's now talking about Jack Jones. I mean, I think that was a steal of the draft.
Definitely. We were able to get him in the 4th round. Patriots are starting to give Marcus Jones more reps on defense with the corners. And we did all this yesterday without Jonathan Jones, our number 1 corner, playing. So we've always had a good pass defense. At least it feels like that for the last 10 years. We've always had a respectable pass defense. The run game has always destroyed us the last few years, and I'm not going to say it's perfect yet. But what we did yesterday with the run game, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, was impressive going up against Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So hats off to the Patriots defense so far this year. We hope that continues. But after that 4th down stop by the Pats, both teams trade punts. And a few drives later, we're getting closer to the half here. Bailey Zappi connects. This drive, before I get into it, actually was just a drive full of chunk plays. So Zappi begins this later drive with a 12-yard connection to Hunter Henry, a 19-yard play-action pass to Jacoby Myers, and then he hit Devontae Parker on a slant route for 14 yards. Then Tyquan Thornton gained 12 on a screen pass, catch, and run. And then on 3rd and 10, you think that the Patriots are clearly in a passing situation. They're already in field goal range. But Matt Patricia makes the call for us to do a shotgun run on 3rd and 10. And Ramondre Stevenson runs it out to the outside of to the left side and runs it in for 6. 31-yard touchdown with about 3 minutes left to go in the half. And the Patriots are in the end zone for the first time in the game today. And they go 10-3 right before the half. So I think that play call certainly caught all of us off guard on 3rd and long, going with the run. But clearly the Pats saw something offensively. Jacoby Myers threw a heck of a block on that play, and Stevenson was able to cut it to the left, and then he was home free after that.
Yeah, he burnt, I believe, number 23. I think he was the linebacker. So he was the one that was supposed to stop that run, but Stevenson was too fast for him, and he was able to cut it outside, and the corner or the safety couldn't catch him after that.
And then this is the final drive before the half for Cleveland on 3rd and 10. Jalen Mills interfered with Amari Cooper, which bailed out Cleveland. 8 penalties for New England in the first half of this game. That's their season high in a game, and they just committed that in the first half alone. So penalties bailed out Cleveland, and the Browns settled for a 46-yard field goal from Cade York right before the half. That was up and good. So the Patriots head into the locker rooms up 10-6. So at this point, I'm feeling okay about the Patriots. It's a 4-point game, doing okay offensively, but the penalties were just getting ridiculous. And I don't know what it is, but these last few years, and I think we talked about this again Saturday night, the Patriots have just been less and less disciplined. And, Belichick obviously is furious about this, but just so many unacceptable penalties so far this year. And if we can just clean that up, it'd be such a better team.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we're the Cowboys right now. Just they've been the most penalized team in football lately, and I feel like we're starting to get to that mindset of being undisciplined. And Belichick is I don't know why he doesn't have a firmer grip on just the whole team in general.
And these penalties are so preventable. Like last week against Detroit, it was Kendrick Bourne getting called for the same thing 2 times in a row. Delay of games, false starts. Like the false starts keep happening. Neutral zone infractions. I mean, get it together. Like
Yeah,
this is just
Belichick was mad at that one. I think they showed a camera angle of Belichick yelling at Bourne for that.
yeah. I saw
So
that after the game. That
yeah.
gotta clean that up for sure if we want to go anywhere this year. But headed into the third quarter, the second half, right at the beginning of the second half, Patriots got the ball as they deferred to begin the game. 53-yard catch and run to Jonnu Smith to begin the second half. This was easily Jonnu Smith's best play as a Patriot,
Mhm.
and it was the longest play from the line of scrimmage for the Patriots this season. So just like that, they flipped field position. Zappi lobbed it to Hunter Henry for 12 yards, get them close to the goal line. And then after a couple more stuffed runs and goal-to-go situations, on third and goal, Patriots decide to allow Zappi to air it out, and Zappi finds Tyquan Thornton in the back of the end zone for Tyquan Thornton's first career NFL touchdown, and the Patriots then went up 17-6 early in the third quarter. Without getting into what he did later, what do you think about Tyquan Thornton yesterday in his second game?
No, I'm liking it. I mean, I think they're starting to finally realize what Tyquan Thornton's purpose is, and he's now been able to be used. He's kind of like using Kendrick Bourne's role. He's because later in the game you'll see him in the run game as well as the passing game. So I think they're using him a lot more in ways that people don't expect him to be used as, instead of just because people are probably thinking he's just more of just a vertical runner because of how fast he is. But no, they utilized him pretty well on Sunday.
Definitely. And this drive was reminiscent of that drive towards the end of the Green Bay game where Damian Harris scored that touchdown because Patriots got down the field in a hurry on this drive. I think we were already in the red zone, not even 3 minutes into the quarter. And then, we stalled a little bit because for whatever reason, we tried to run it again in short yard situations at the goal line. But then, shout out to Matt Patricia for realizing, okay, let's just see what Zappy can do in the passing game. And shout out to Zappy for taking his time, waiting for Tyquan Thornton to get open in the back of the end zone and throw it to him. And then the rest is history. So we'll have to see what happens with Tyquan Thornton. But I know there was a lot of hype with him as soon as we drafted him because he ran about a 4.2, 4.3, 40-yard dash. He looked solid in the preseason before he got hurt. And he probably took that time to develop some chemistry with Bailey Zappi on the second and third team. So that probably explains why they are already clicking so far. But what do you think about the emergence of Tyquan Thornton and what it means for Nelson Aguilar? Because I think this is definitely the last year for Nelson Aguilar on this team. I think it gets more and more unlikely that we re-sign him, especially with someone like Tyquan Thornton getting ready to take his spot. But do you think when Aguilar comes back, it's going to be a situation where he just takes all his snaps again, or do you think Matt Patricia is going to have his hands full in terms of properly allocating snaps between all receivers? Because you have a guy like Bourne, who we'll see if he plays next week because he did get hurt in this game with a turf toe injury, but he's been limited with snaps all year. Devontae Parker seems to be a favorite of the offensive crew. Same with Nelson Aguilar before he got hurt, and then Jacoby Myers as well. But when adding Tyquan Thornton to the mix, do you think there's going to be too many cooks in the kitchen, or do you think all these guys are going to have fair shots?
Yeah, no, I think Tyquan Thornton is definitely going to be the up-and-coming receiver next year. Definitely, we overpaid for Aguilar for just 2 years, so I personally think that we should cut him maybe mid through the season if he's still a little shaky, because he's had some moments that are really good and then really bad. Like the Steelers game, he caught the underthrown ball from Mac Jones, but then last week he Zappy threw a dime to him and just couldn't catch it, and it turned into an interception. So it's like yin and yang, It's just I don't know. I mean, I just feel like Tyquan Thornton is definitely going to be the third receiver on the team, and I think Aguilar's days are numbered.
Yeah. I don't know if we cut him mid-season, but I do think the Patriots are definitely exploring trading him at the deadline because scored 38 points on offense without him. And he's had his moments, and it seems like I will give the Patriots credit. We're using him a lot better this year than we did last year because it seemed like all we did last year was just send Aguilar down the field and hope he can make a play maybe. This year we're starting to use him more with intermediate routes, but I just think why not go cheaper with Thornton? He's on a rookie contract, and then you get the 11 million in cap space once the season's up. So I definitely think Aguilar's time is numbered, and Thornton's performance yesterday doesn't help matters for him, but the Patriots will take it as it looks like hopefully the Patriots, after years and years of failure, have finally drafted a good receiver. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So we hope the best for Tyquan Thornton.
I think they're finally starting to use the two tight ends now, which is gonna help, or which is gonna not also favor Aguilar because you only need to have 3 receivers on the field instead of usually 4. So you kind of have to cut one out.
Definitely. So we'll get into that later in the game for sure, but this was a big game for both of the tight ends in New England. So after this touchdown drive we just talked about, not too much else happened until later in the third. But Marcus Jones on defense had a great pass breakup that could have been ruled a pick by the sideline, but nonetheless it forced Cleveland to punt. A couple drives later after that, Jawan Bentley blitzed, hit Brissett as he threw the ball, and Jacoby Brissett underthrew the ball to Amari Cooper, who was in double coverage. Jalen Mills on this play ended up with the interception, and the Patriots get the ball back. But I do have to say this is pretty funny because I don't think Jalen Mills had a solid game yesterday either. He committed some penalties. He got burnt on some plays. But it is all shielded by the fact that he got an interception. This is just like what happened in the Pittsburgh game where he was getting cooked by Deontay Johnson, but he had a pick in that game. So I just think it's funny that the same exact thing happened to Mills.
Yeah, I don't understand why he was covered up with Cooper because he got burnt, I think, 3 times, and then he had 2 penalties caused by him. So I just don't. You definitely need someone else with Jalen Mills to support him because
Miles Bryant,
or just someone because, or it like plays like what just happened. You pressure the quarterback into throwing basically a duck, and just he's able to find it quicker than the receiver. So.
Yeah, it's Jalen Mills. Yeah, he has one more year after this year left on his deal, and he has his moments like we saw last year where he can be a solid number 2 corner, a solid complementary corner. But the penalties this year are just so stupid. And he's getting mossed too much, and he is. I hate ragging on a guy. Not that he cares because he's making $18 million on this contract, but we need him to get better at covering routes as well. So. Moving on from that, towards the end of the third, it was actually the last drive of the third quarter for the Patriots. On 3rd and 1 with the Patriots driving, Zappy puts it into play action. The man covering Hunter Henry slips, leaving Henry wide open. Zappy sees this and finds Hunter for the catch, and Hunter jogs him in the end zone for the 31-yard touchdown. So, as we head to the end of the third, the Patriots score another touchdown, their second of the quarter, to make it 24-6. They're starting to blow this one open. And the Boo Birds start raining down hard in Cleveland. So you got to love it. I think that was just really an unfortunate play. The Patriots definitely got lucky there that guy slipped. But we'll take it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I still think he wasn't as quick as Hunter Henry, though. Even though he slipped, there was still a big opening in that zone, so it could have gone, it could have been a better, protection, or not protection, a better coverage on Hunter Henry if he didn't slip, but it was still a solid play that Zappy was able to find it quick enough.
And on the ensuing drive, Mac Wilson and Anthony Jennings team up for a sack on Brissett, forcing Cleveland into another 3-and-out punt. And the Boo Birds continue to rain down in Cleveland even harder after this play. But Patriots would end up giving the ball back to Cleveland, and this is where Cleveland starts to drive and make things a little bit interesting towards the end of the third, as Brissett finds Njoku on 3rd and 5 for a good catch and run. Then Chubb gets his best run of the day on this drive, an 18-yard run, and then he gets 10-plus yards on a screen. Patriots start struggling to tackle, but right before the end of the third quarter, Brissett missed Njoku, who was running down the middle of the field for a score. If the timing was just a little bit faster, probably would have turned into a touchdown. And just like that, the Browns would have been right back into this game. But we head to the fourth, but the Browns still having the ball in the red zone. And on 3rd and 10, Dietrich Wise sacked Jacoby Brissett. The ball was loose, and Peoples-Jones batted it out of bounds. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if Donovan Peoples-Jones knew it was a fumble, but obviously when you bat the ball out of bounds, that is a penalty. I believe that put the Browns 10 yards back, so it made it even more difficult field goal for the rookie kicker, Cade York from Cleveland. 51-yard field goal try from Cade York is up and good. So early in the fourth, the Patriots' lead is cut from 24-6 to 24-9. Next drive, Zappe on play action found Jacoby Myers for a 27-yard gain, throwing from his right to find Myers on the left. Then later, Zappe stepped up in the pocket, avoiding the sack to find Tyquan Thornton on the left side for a gain of 21, also avoiding another sack. At the end of this drive, the Patriots were getting close. They were already in the red zone at this point, but it was 3rd down. Zappe was feeling the heat, so he rolled out of the pocket and threw it away. But everyone thought, all right, threw it away, chip shot field goal for Nick Folk. But as soon as Zappe threw it away, I knew watching it that the ball did not reach the line of scrimmage, and I went like this because I knew that was going to be an intentional grounding penalty. And it took a couple minutes for the refs to confer with each other, but they did end up calling Zappe with intentional grounding. So it turned a 35-yard field goal for Nick Folk into a 45-yard field goal attempt. Still very makeable, but the kick by Folk from 45 yards was no good. And that was the first time in over 2 years that Nick Folk missed a kick from inside 50 yards. His streak of converting on 64 straight field goals within that range is now over. And Chris, that's just proof that we're getting old.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say enough good things about Nick Folk. I know he was kind of thrusted into a rough situation when he first came here because Gostkowski was still injured, and Nick Folk didn't even really play or kick that well when we had him in 2019. But from 2020 he was one of our better players in that miserable year. And in his whole Patriots career, he's been really good for us.
Yeah, he helped us win, I think, 3 games at least in the 2020 season. So
yeah, he has been really reliable. And honestly, the Patriots are pretty fortunate as a franchise to have 3 straight really good kickers. They had Vinatieri, then Gostkowski, now Nick Folk. Just got to appreciate Nick Folk as long as we have him because his career is closer to the end than the beginning, definitely. But we move on from this. No more points added onto the board for the Patriots, and the Browns get the ball back. And this is where the Browns start making some crazy plays. It kind of looks like they're playing Madden out there. On 4th and 2, Jacoby Brissett drops it in for 37 yards down the sideline on the back shoulder throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Do you remember who was in coverage on that play?
The Peoples-Jones one?
Yep.
Yeah, it was Marcus Jones. He tried swatting it away, and I thought he did, but he was able to get it to Peoples-Jones.
Yep, so on 4th and 2.
It was good coverage, but,
Good coverage, just a better throw by the veteran Brissett. And then on 4th and 5, later in that drive, Jacoby Brissett connected with Amari Cooper in the back right corner of the end zone, who caught it over Miles Bryant and another player. I think it was Jalen Mills for a fantastic catch. And on that play, it was ruled a touchdown. I thought Cooper was either out of bounds or didn't maintain control of the ball, but somehow, some way, over Miles Bryant and Jalen Mills, he made a phenomenal catch. And just like that, the Browns are back in this game as they make it 24-15 with that score. Sorry, excuse me. And this is where things, in my opinion, were a little confusing because you're down 24-15. You can either kick the extra point to make it a one-score game, but you still need to worry about the two-point conversion, or you can go for the two-point conversion now and only worry about having to kick an extra point later. The Browns opted to do the latter, where they're down 2 scores still, but they want to go for 2 to make it a 7-point game, just so they can get the two-point conversion out of the way. Do you think that this was the right call to make, or do you think that they were too blinded by the analytics?
I mean, I can see why they wanted to go for 2 because there was 6 minutes left in the game, so you kind of needed to get that to make sure it's not a 2-score game, I would say. So it was like, all right, you either bite the bullet now or you got to hope that your defense, who's been getting burnt all day, trying to get a stop and then trying to go down the field again. So I guess it was the right call overall. And it was Miles Bryant and Jack Jones. Jack Jones didn't
Jack
even get,
Jones.
yeah, he didn't get to the spot. He was a few yards back, and Miles Bryant had to come up and try to cover Amari Cooper, but he was just, the size matchup was just not there.
So on the two-point conversion for Cleveland, it fell unsuccessful as Jacoby Bryant was getting harassed in the pocket and ended up getting hit as he threw, and the ball fell incomplete in the end zone. So two-point conversion was no good. Still a 2-score game with about 6 minutes left, as Chris said. Patriots were now leading 24-15. Now we get into the onside kick. So do you want to take everyone through the onside kick and all the chaos that happened on that play?
Yeah, so they tried to go for the onside kick, and number 50 touched it. And what happened was one of the guys tried securing it for the Browns, and they thought they had it, but it trickled out. And another Browns number 38 for the Cleveland side, he recovered it, and unfortunately he was out of bounds before securing it, which is a penalty because you're not allowed to touch the ball out when you go outside and then you come back in. That's illegal touching. So we were able to get the ball back, luckily. So that could have been a disaster.
Yeah, so me and Chris both talked to him right before we went live and said that we started to get really nervous in this game once this onside kick play happened. So Chris did a good job summarizing it up. I think Brendan Schooler, right before it got kicked, was yelling at more Patriots players to come to the line because he was expecting the onside kick.
Mm-hmm.
So heads up play by that, but then the Browns kicked it, and they recovered. It looked like they recovered it. It was initially called that Cleveland recovered it. Harrison on the Browns looked like he could cleanly recover as it was on his backside, and all he had to do was reach behind him and just corral the ball. But as you said, Green on the Browns as well slid in and grabbed it from out of bounds. The refs initially awarded Cleveland a successful onside kick recovery, but you could even see Joe Judge, Patriots coach, at the bottom of the screen saying, nope, Patriots ball, Patriots ball. And he would know, and I would definitely trust his judgment because Joe Judge used to be a special teams coach in his first stint in New England. So it looks like the Browns might be getting away with a bad call, but then after the refs discuss it even more and go under the hood for a further review. And after further review, Harrison didn't fully recover the ball, and Green, as you said, committed illegal touching. So that's a penalty. And the Patriots not only got the ball back, but they got 5 extra yards because of the penalty. So a lot of madness there, and it could have gotten even more scary and more interesting if Cleveland recovers the ball there. But all's well that ends well. And just, in my opinion, a special teams blunder by Cleveland because that guy, Harrison, could have recovered the ball. All he had to do was reach behind his back and grab it, but Green tried to do too much and came from out of bounds trying to touch the ball. So Patriots avoid a near scare there, but it wouldn't matter as on the ensuing drive, Zappy got sacked by Myles Garrett to make it 3rd and long for the Patriots. Garrett got hurt on this play. Not sure if he's okay. but that made it 3rd and 15. And Zappe stepped back into the pocket and threw a pass, but the pass deflected off of David Andrews' helmet, and Zappe actually caught it, and he made the heads-up play where he just fell in the pocket and took the loss, and the Patriots have to punt. But instead of it being an incomplete pass, the clock kept on running. So heads-up play by Zappe to just catch it and fall on it because he wasn't going to be able to run for a first down or pull Marcus Mariota, whatever Mariota did all those years ago with the touchdown pass to himself. So Patriots forced to punt back to Cleveland, but on the punt, Rodgers for Cleveland muffs it, and Brendan Schooler recovers his second fumble of the season. He did the same exact thing against Pittsburgh in the same exact situation where the punt returner muffs it. And this is the second straight drive where it was a special teams mistake by Cleveland. And this just speaks to why it's no joke that Bill Belichick always says that special teams can make or break a game. And you think if Cleveland just holds on to that ball and maybe they drive down the field, but if they keep possession regardless, they have a few minutes left, all their timeouts, and the ball with the chance to make this a one-score game, you never know what can happen after that. And it's only fitting that the former head coach of the Browns, Bill Belichick, who always preaches special teams, got the benefit of the doubt against Cleveland and us capitalizing off another one of their mistakes. So we move on from that, and the Patriots retain possession after the fumble recovery from Brendan Schooler. Oh, and did you see the funny moment with Brendan?
Oh, yeah, with Belichick, yeah. Schooler's an undrafted guy, right?
Undrafted, and he's 25 years old.
Yeah, so, I mean, those are some big moments for that kid. So, I guess it's like a present, like a thank you present for giving me a chance on the team, I would say. And Belichick's like, no, you can keep it. Like he was just focused on winning the game. So
yeah, that clip was priceless. So just to explain this to the viewers, after the fumble recovery had happened and the Patriots had the ball, Schooler grabbed the ball and went up to Belichick while he was still calling the game and tried to present him the ball because he said after the game he wanted to give Belichick a game ball, because he knew how much this game in Cleveland meant to Belichick, not only because of how many wins he has in his career as a coach, but also Bill Belichick always wants to get revenge, probably on the Browns because they fired him. So this game had multiple big meanings for Belichick, but when Schooler tried to present Belichick the ball when he was in the middle of calling the game, Belichick just looked up at him, looked down at the ball, and the special teams coach came over and was holding back a smile and said to Schooler, like, all right, let's get out of here, buddy. And today, on the radio, Belichick was laughing, describing that incident. So that was pretty funny. Belichick even said, like, I appreciate the gesture, and it was a great play, but yeah, we still had a game to win. So I think that sums it up pretty well. But the Patriots have possession, already in field goal territory, and this is just basically clock management at this point. First play, though, after the fumble recovery, Tyquan Thornton takes a jet sweep and runs into the end zone for a 19-yard score, his second score of the game, and the Patriots extend the lead to 31-15 late. So at this point, it's looking like it's over, and on the following drive, Jacoby Brissett loses the ball, trying to tuck it back in. Carl Davis Sr., the defensive tackle for the Patriots, recovers it, and it gets a little bit of a return, the big man with the return. Cleveland's fourth turnover of the game. And then on 3rd and goal, Stevenson runs it up the gut for a second score of the game, and the Patriots extend their lead at this point to 38-15, and that would end up being the final score. So the Patriots would win this game in their second in a row. They're back to 500 on the season. This was a very long game yesterday, Chris. This is the longest game, I think, of the year so far for the Pats. It was funny because before the game on CBS, Boomer Esiason was saying that this would be the quickest game of all the games in the 1 p.m. slate, which makes perfect sense because two teams playing their backup quarterbacks, you'd think they'd rely heavily on the run game like they have this year with two teams, both of the teams having great running backs in the backfield. But this game took forever from all the stoppages, the penalties, and both teams really passing it a lot. So this game came to an end, hard-fought, nice victory for the Patriots at times, back to 500. Belichick gets his 324th win, which is the second most behind Don Shula, and ties him with George Halas among head coaches. And Robert Kraft gets a nice wedding gift. So that'll do it for this game. Yeah, I mean, the end of that game happened really quickly, and you got to feel for
Mhm.
Cleveland. I mean, I'm obviously happy they made that mistake, but once they muffed that punt, it's like, okay, we won this game.
Yeah, no, they showed a lot of fans leaving through the whole game. They were just all like gone essentially. So I was like, okay, now I know this game's over. They all knew it.
And shout out to all the Pats fans at Cleveland because I don't know if you heard, but for the second straight week at the end of the game, Pats fans were chanting "Zappy, Zappy, Zappy." So
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
yeah, shout out to the Patriots fans. Great representation down there in Cleveland. And what do you think? So Belichick has 23 more wins to tie Shula for the most wins by a head coach of all time. 24 more wins to break the record. You'd like to think that he can get that done in the next 2.5 more seasons. And this is more of a sentimental question, but do you think Belichick's just trying to coach until he beats the record? Like, do you think that's his main motivation for continuing to coach, besides winning another
I
Super Bowl?
Yeah, I believe. I feel like that's what's gonna happen, and he's just gonna give the team to either probably Matt Patricia or I don't know, maybe his son. But like, yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's so close to this title. He's been working on it, so he's just trying to, I guess, keep the owners happy enough that they're winning games and not messing anything up. That he's able to keep the job. Because people were wondering, like, oh, what's his coaching style? The past few years it's been kind of questionable. So yeah, I feel like because at some point you're like over 70 years old. It's like, what else do you have to do? And you're already the greatest coach of all time. So once you have that record, I feel like your legacy's cemented. So
And I thought of this interesting point a few days ago that I want to run by you, where it also ties into what you just said, where Belichick's 70. He doesn't, he's definitely, I don't think he's going to do this until he's 80. At some point, he's got to be there for his grandkids and for his longtime girlfriend. Like, he's got to enjoy life after football at some point.
mm,
Like, he can't let this consume him for over 60 years. But what I think may happen is maybe he'll coach for a few more years, but then he won't completely retire from the game, and he'll just be a GM for a couple years for the Pats and then call it quits. So I think he's going to do both coaching and GM for a few more years, then step down as coach, maybe hire Patricia or Steve Belichick as coach, be the GM for a couple more years, then call it quits. What do you think about that?
no, I would imagine that's probably the game plan. Because the win total, does that include playoff wins or is it just
Yep.
regular season? Okay, well, so yeah, so hopefully, this team definitely improves enough that we can get further into the playoffs and add a couple extra wins. Maybe he'll try to cushion it and maybe have another year after that just to secure it.
Yeah, and shout out to Robert Kraft for having a great week last week. He donated 50 million to Mass General Hospitals, the largest donation any
Wow.
history of that hospital. Kraft just proven to continuously be the best owner in the history of sports.
Mhm.
And he got married to his girlfriend this weekend in a surprise wedding. So they told all these people to show up, but no one knew that they were going to see Kraft and his girlfriend get married. And he's a happy man now. Tom Brady was in attendance. David
Mhm.
Andrews, McCourty, Slater, Will Fork, Troy Brown, Ty Law, Randy Moss. Goodell was there. The NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, was there for some reason. Meek Mill was there. So sounds like a great time. But all fun and games this weekend. A very fun time for everyone involved with the Patriots organization. But there's now a more serious burning question after this game yesterday, Chris.
Mhm.
There was rumblings last week that a quarterback controversy could be brewing in New England for the second
Ooh,
time in the 21st century between
ooh,
Bailey
that's a
Zappi
tough
and Mac
one.
Jones.
Yeah.
Are you now buying into the fact after seeing Bailey Zappi playing 3 games that Mac Jones could be on the hot seat or may not have a job once he's healthy?
I mean, it's now possible because the sample size, like I said earlier, it's now bigger. Because if he'd lost this game, or if he maybe messed up like Cooper Rush did as the backup, then I would say Mac Jones would be the starter. But since he's been doing exactly what he's been told, and not messing up the game for the defense and actually winning the game for us, I would say it's now in the realms of possibility.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Honestly, my philosophy is if I still think that this is Mac Jones's team, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any debate for that, and I think the Patriots have wisely gone back to their old roots with the offense with Zappy, and it's just proving wonders. I saw this tweet that I think has some merit to it, where people think the Patriots got a little too cute this offseason, trying to just recreate their whole offense because McDaniels left. I think you need to switch it around a little bit because you're entering a new era without your longtime offensive coordinator. But some of the things definitely made sense as we didn't make sense as we saw in that first Miami game. But what I think's going to happen is once Mac Jones is healthy, he's going to be the starter. But say that Mac Jones doesn't play well in whatever game he returns in, or the first two games he returns in, and continues to struggle this season as he did pre-injury, you could be looking at Bailey Zappi get another shot. But as much as I'd be interested to see it, I don't think we're going to see Bailey Zappi continuously start, even if Mac's healthy, like Brady did to Bledsoe. But the pressure is on Mac to perform better because, as I just said, and as I think we both agree on, he has not played well at all this year before the injury. So,
No, yeah, I agree with that. I also feel like in the beginning of the year is also probably affecting the decision as well because Mac Jones, I mean, as well as a few receivers were questioning the coaching style, and Mac Jones was kind of like the leader in that, deliberately saying like, yeah, this is it's a new way. He said it in a way that was like subtle, but it was in the way of like the coaches knew what he was talking about, not like the audience or like the fans are like having a big concern about it, but like inside training camp, it's like, yeah, it's a big deal of what's going on with like the coaching and the offensive coordinator situation. So I mean, that could play an effect because of like personal relationship issues and whatnot. So
yeah, so that's what I was going to bring up too, because it's been reported there's a growing rift between Mac and Belichick dating back to the offseason. It seems like they may have both disagreed on what new route to take with this new offensive scheme. And obviously, with this injury, things are starting to boil over because it seems like the Pats wanted Mac to come back sooner than he wanted to, and Mac wants to play it safe. So it's definitely something kind of like we're in the real world where someone may be the better fit, but sometimes it all comes down to personal connections. And obviously, we're from the outside looking in, but it seems like Zappy is just no ego, just does what the coaches tell him. And it seems like a lot of people love playing with him. And I'm not saying one way or another. I think Mac Jones is still the starter. I think Mac Jones still deserves to be the starter. Let's not forget what he did last year with us, taking us to the playoffs as a rookie. He's easily been the best quarterback taken in the 2021 draft. I don't think you bail on someone you took in the first round in his second year of playing. I just think that that's a stupid call. I think maybe we'll revisit this again in the offseason. I think that's when it could potentially be more interesting, but I still think this is Mac's job. But it would not surprise me if Belichick just rides the hot hand. And if we keep winning with Zappy, say Zappy plays again Monday night against the Bears next week, it's hard to stray away from a quarterback when you keep winning. So I could see us riding the hot hand, but I still do think this is Mac's job. And I think as much as I'm all for QB controversy and as much as it makes that stuff exciting for Boston sports and for the Patriots again, I think this is still Mac Jones' job.
No, I do too, but I just feel like there's always that thing in the back of your head thinking like, oh, should I just continue with this or should I go back to, the guy who got us to, the playoffs, and blah blah blah. But I mean, it'll be interesting for next week. I mean,
Who do you think is going to be the starter next week?
I think if all things go well, I think it will be Mac. But if there's like maybe some sort of issue or setback with his injury or just coach's personal decision, then Zappy would play.
I agree with that. I think all signs point towards Mac being ready because we don't play until Monday night, so that gives him an extra day to recover. And it's a pretty good sign when you're traveling with the team, as Mac did last week. So he didn't do anything in warmups before the game yesterday, but I think we're looking at Mac being the guy on Monday night. But this will be a crucial game for sure because if we come out rough and Mac doesn't look good, then there's the QB controversy is only going to continue to heat up. But it's just an interesting situation for sure. And, I think we're in a pretty good spot again as Patriots fans, knowing that Belichick has drafted two pretty dang good quarterbacks in the last two drafts because Zappy broke all of Joe Burrow's records in college last year at Western Kentucky, 62 touchdowns, 11 picks, well over 5,000 yards. I mean, shout out to Bill Belichick for his draft in the last few years. I don't know if you've seen that tweet, but in 2020, Bill Belichick drafted Mike Onwenu for the offensive line and Kyle Duggar as a safety. 2021, we got Barmore Stevenson and Mac Jones. And this year, we got Jack Jones, Tyquan Thornton, and Bailey Zappi. So, and Cole Strange. So it's, Patriots fans are so impatient after 20 years of dominance to say, like, oh, why can't we always be good? Well, look, we're rebuilding, be patient. But Belichick has hit it out of the park in the last few drafts where I've just named off 10 playmakers that are going to help this team in the future. So slowly but surely, the Patriots are rebuilding, and we're trying to create another dynasty. And it stinks that we're doing this at a time when the Bills look like they're going to be good for a while, and the Chiefs still have Mahomes in his prime, and the Dolphins are going to give you fits. The Jets are also in the mix too, the Raiders.
And the Bengals.
The Bengals, who just went to the Super Bowl last year. But Patriots are doing their part to make sure that they're in the mix for years to come. And maybe that'll come this year. Who knows? But if we sneak into the playoffs again this year and we just keep getting better and better and better with this young core, there's no saying we won't be back in the contender mix in the next few years.
No, yeah, I just feel like we're lucky enough that our rebuild, it doesn't seem like as long as, other teams has. I feel like we've been just patching up some holes, in some parts of the defense, some parts of the offense, and we're just somehow able to make it work and actually excel in some parts because we were able to make it to the playoffs the very next year after the 2020 season. So,
and this offseason, I forgot to say we have $40 million in cap space. So
yeah, that's
we have flexibility, and we're getting better at drafting. Mm-hmm. We have two young quarterbacks, and maybe we come to a crossroads with that at some point. But things are looking up for the Patriots, and we will be back next week to play on Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears, looking to get over 500 for the first time in the season. So, before we wrap up, Chris, anything else you'd like to bring up?
I'd just like to say, this is going to be a long road. I feel like the AFC's been I would say, a lot more tighter than I would say it's been in, past couple years or decade, I would say. But, we just got to keep going the course, and I think we're going to find a way to squeak in as probably the number 7 or number 6 seed in the playoffs.
I sure hope so. So that is going to do it for this episode of In Depth with David. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Chris, I want to thank you for being my partner for this one too. We'll be back Saturday or Sunday to recap or to preview the Bears game. This is a little bit of a weird one with Monday Night Football. Pats got their Monday Night Football game, their one Monday night game of the year coming up next week. So we'll be back to cover that and recap it. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below who you think the Patriots quarterback should be. I want everyone talking about this quarterback controversy because I want the engagement for my YouTube channel. There, I said it. I'm an honest YouTuber. What can I say? Help me out. Like, subscribe, and comment. and we'll be back next weekend to cover this game against the Bears back at Gillette Stadium. It's a happy day. Patriots are back at 500. Let's get over 500, everyone. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for us. Have a good night. Take care.
See ya.